Good morning, Mr. Koff, Mrs. Isaacs, Mrs. Mayadas, Mr. Samuel, faculty advisors, sponsors, parents, and of course, dear delegates. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the 20th annual session of the Cathedral Model United Nations, India's oldest Model United Nations conference. It was in 1996, when the world was a very different place, that our school undertook its mission of giving youngsters a platform to voice their views, and more importantly, laid down a template for generations to come. Since then, global tension has been escalating, and local as well as universal conflicts have taken the world by storm. Daesh, otherwise known as ISIS or ISIL, continues its reign of terror, and in light of more recent atrocities, even the Syrian crisis has long been consigned to the peripheries of our minds. As the economy of Venezuela crumbles, the refugee crisis seems to have reached its zenith, and the European Union teems with immigrants in a humanitarian crisis it fails to hide from public view. And even this crisis served only as an obvious indicator of the chaos prevalent within the EU today. Britain's startling vote to leave the European Union rattled financial markets and weakened an already strained currency and continent, subsequently reshaping Britain's political scene as Prime Minister David Cameron announced his resignation. Political alliances that have lasted over 50 years are crumbling as we speak. Daily news is rife with instances of terrorism that are becoming far too commonplace. Nobody is safe, neither you nor I, and the US elections being more fractious than ever before only serves as proof of that fact. Concerns regarding America, however, do not end with the soon-to-happen presidential elections. The United States' military capabilities have been stronger than ever, and nations around the world are growing increasingly chary of its devastating capabilities. The CIA dominates the field of intelligence gathering and espionage, and ladies and gentlemen, if this isn't a cause for concern, then I don't know what is. But most significantly, the problems that we face today seem to embody the lack of compromise in the world leaders of today. And what better place to correct that than Model United Nations? By representing countries other than our own, we are forced to view situations from another person's perspective and consequently learn how to clothe in the tapestry of compromise the double-edged sword of our malice and obstinacy. This year, CMUN will be celebrating its 20th anniversary. As a consequence, our Secretariat is striving to produce a conference that will, hopefully, remain the non-pareil for the years to come. Building on CMUN's reputation for innovation, excitement, and intense debate, this year's conference will, for the first time, have 11 committees, including the press corps. And yet again, for the first time in CMUN's history, we will host a triple JCC, a new twist to an old favorite. Set at a crucial juncture in 1745, this committee deals with the establishment of colonialism in India. Another hallmark of CMUN tradition, the Historic Security Council, will be discussing the conflict in Vietnam during a tumultuous period we now refer to as the Cold War. Meanwhile, the NATO will deal with the current threat of Russian-led aggression in Eastern Europe and Ukraine, as delegates in the Special Commission on Scientific Weaponry will have to decide where to draw the fine line between the tactical advantages that chemical, biological, and cyber weapons pose and the disastrous consequences of their misuse. While members of the All India Political Party 2019 will be tasked with determining the validity of a uniform civil code in India before the approach of the general elections, the Special Summit on Artificial Intelligence will have to answer an extremely crucial question. Will artificial intelligence be the harbinger of world peace, or will we be destroyed by what could possibly be our last innovation? Even as the World Health Organization debates the ethically controversial organ transplanting practices that more than 90,000 people avail of each year, the Indian Constituent Assembly will attempt to rewrite India's constitution as we know it today. And lastly, we have the press corps, again, a CMUN mainstay. This year, however, the press corps will be revolutionized to include spoken debate in a spin never seen before in an Indian Model UN conference. Delegates, you are here today because hostility between nations is rising, and now more than ever, diplomacy is the need of the hour. We change our Facebook status in the aftermath of a terrorist attack in France to show our support and express our solidarity. But why don't we do the same when innocent citizens in Turkey, Iran, or Kashmir are killed? It seems as if every step forward we take seems to take us 4 steps back. That's at least as far as our prejudices are concerned. We've managed to send a team to the moon, and companies like SpaceX plan to send a team to Mars. But somehow we can't hold a conversation with the people in the same room as us. How far then has our omnipotent technology truly brought us? And as much as we like to say, the world isn't a better place than it was 30 or 40 years ago. Most of us would say that our leaders are failing us, that the power to change the world isn't in our hands. But the power to remedy a dying world, the power to make sure that we don't fail our children, that is in our hands. And yes, it may seem like a hackneyed idea, but it isn't. Because delegates, look around you. What you will see during the course of these 3 days is the amalgamation of different views, perspectives, and morals. The people around you are as passionate about international relations and world politics as anyone else. You are the best debaters and munners in the country today. In India, the country with the largest percent of its population below the voting age. And if even one or two of you in this very conference, this very room stand up, raise their hand and agree to a career in politics, maybe the world we live in tomorrow will actually be a better place. Because imagine this, if one or two people in every conference step up, there are hundreds and thousands of conferences each year. You subtract the overlap, and I'm sure that we have more than enough people to change the world. And maybe then, 20 years from now, when we switch on our televisions or pick up the newspaper in the morning, we will do so without expecting to hear news of bloodshed and massacre. Someone once told me that hope is a dangerous thing. A tiny flame licking at a heap of crumpled up contracts and confidential documents. But in the end, however small a flame, hope has the power to burn bridges as well as constraints. Yes, hope is dangerous, but only because it's infectious. With hope, we can dominate. Delegates, over the span of these 3 days, you will solve financial crises, destroy terrorist organizations, I hope, debate human rights issues, and perhaps, just perhaps, bring about world peace. You have read about all these issues in the newspapers. Now, you will engage with them. You will analyze every aspect of them, and you will turn them on their head. Should this event, as we know it, fulfill its original purpose, the idea of compromise and empathy will be stronger within you than ever when you leave CMUN this Sunday. And delegates, if that doesn't inspire hope, then I don't know what will. And it is, after all, the diplomatic spirit that encapsulates the true essence of any MUN. And with this in mind, I now declare the 20th annual session of the Cathedral Model United Nations open. May I please ask everybody in this room to remain seated while our chief guest is escorted outside for tea. Thank you.